was talking about, it was on Palm Sunday, as you can see up there. And this is the actual audio from the fire alarm.
Commercial fire, Cat 2, commercial fire, Cat 2, engine 11, engine 17, engine 5, engine 18, rescue ladder 18, rescue ladder 14, rescue 8, 533, 601, 602, and 722. Respond on this commercial fire. It'll be western and northwest 47. Northwestern and northwest 47. It's going to be Crown Heights Baptist Church. Map number 4436.
This is Chief Igo's fire on the red shift.
Engine 11 to dispatch.
Go ahead.
We're going to respond to smoke in the neighborhood over here by our station, just south of our station. If you get a call.
They came in. This is
Dispatch 2, engine 11. We're starting a commercial fire. Stand by.
This was at shift change, so somebody coming to work said, smelt smoke.
Engine 11, this commercial fire is going to be at western and northwest 47. Baptist Church on 47.
So while they were in process and getting their rig, they were dispatching a commercial fire alarm that they had a report of.
Engine 11 is clear. This is a working fire.
It's only about 2 blocks from their fire station. You can see it's a pretty large
Engine 11
structure.
go to TAC 2.
That's an aerial view.
602 to dispatch. I'm clear on my company. Do you have any additional information?
And the high
602, we received several calls. Engine 11 was going to check the smoke in the area. Engine 11 reports a working fire. It's going to be the west side. They're seeing flames 15 foot tall.
So this is some pictures after the fact
602 is clear.
that our fire investigators took.
Engine 11 will be setting up Western Command. We have heavy fire, heavy smoke coming from a 3-story church. We're catching a plug at 47th and Western. We're laying across Western. We're going to do a quick reset of this fire.
So Western's one of
Dispatch
the
clear.
main,
We'll start traffic.
Western's one of the main streets in Oklahoma
Thanks,
City. Commercial fire alarm. they've got-
Western Command dispatch. Could you announce my companies?
This is one of our lieutenants, so
Engine
he's
Western
not,
Command, you have engine 11,
he's writing
engine
up in
17,
classification.
engine 5, engine 18, rescue letter 18, rescue letter 14, rescue 8, 533, 601, 722, and Air 1.
This was a lady in her backyard that took a cell phone video of that. You can see there is flame that had already broke out 3 windows and was venting. That was the interior of the
Western
fire.
Command to all companies responding. I need ladder 1 to ladder this building. This is a 3-story brick church. We have heavy fire come out of 3 windows on the northeast side of the structure. We are resetting the fire at this time. Engine 5 laying, catching under plug. We caught 47th and Western.
So they know they've got an extensive fire, but they're still going to try this reset. And
Engine 5 clear on laying in.
you can see there was a sofa of some sort. The other fuel in the room were
601's on the scene of the large church. I'll be assuming Western Command. Dispatch, go ahead and start a third alarm. Dispatch is clear on third alarm.
when I go over tactics training with our officers, I say these are the correct things
Ladder
to do.
18, ladder 14, let's get these ladders set up.
You don't know if this is going to work or not. You can't
Engine
gamble.
11 to Engine 11 mobile, go ahead and come out of that building.
As you,
Engine 18 is level 1 at 48, stage by flood.
there was a case
Engine 18
opening
stage
to
by
this
that plug
room.
to your
You
ladder
see how it
gets set.
started to
602,
pyrolyze the top
you're
of
going to be
these other
interior.
chairs.
602's driver's going to be safety officer.
Engine 5 is going to catch the plug at 46 of Western.
The main part of the fuel were just
Clear engine 5. Let's wait on
foam
ladder
rubber
14.
chairs that didn't have a lot of energy in them, but there was
Hazmat
enough of them in
511.
the room.
Engine 17, level 1.
Engine 17, come assist. Engine 11. Hazmat 5, you're the red team.
Hazmat 5 clear on red.
Engine 17 is clear.
Western command to dispatch. Staging area is going to be 50th and Western.
So there's a lot going on at the start of this fire.
Western as a staging area.
This entire audio is about 8 minutes. That was obviously 1 minute after they applied
Ladder
rubber
18,
from the exterior.
Western command, engine 11 will be making an interior attack. We have reset the fire.
So it worked out real well for them.
Command engine 11, clear on resetting the fire, do an interior attack. Ladder 14, I want you on the east side of this building.
Apparently Chief Igo didn't believe him.
Ladder 18 is on scene.
I'm just joking. That's the appropriate response. Let's keep going until we're confident that this fire's out.
Ladder 18, command, which side do you want to go? 602, reevaluate this when you get to the backside, see where you want these ladders set up.
So in the past, if we would have had to make entry from the unburnt side, could we have even got there with the pre-canal?
Red on Charlie side.
Probably not. We would have extended lines, fire would have progressed, it would have got into that next room that had a cased opening that had started to pyrolyze those other chairs, and we would have burned down a real nice church.
Ladder 14, I'll need you in the parking lot. It's going to be on the northwest corner of this church. Ladder 14 is clear on northwest corner of this church.
And this is about over, but I want you to hear the last comments that the interior crew
Interior
made.
command, I got a ceiling temperature of 300 degrees on this first floor.
Clear to command. I got 384 on the inside. We have one on the side. The fire's out.
So the fire's out. He just said the incident or the chief that was sent into the interior
Engine
said,
11, repeat that. I was clearing on 300 degree ceiling temperature. Ladder 18, you take the northwest corner of this church. Engine ladder 14, stay where you're at.
but the attack crew that originally started this
Ladder
all
14 clear.
said 394.
Engine 10, level 1.
Is there something wrong with their thermometers?
Engine 10, come to the command post. Ladder 14, engine 5 is laying you a feeder line.
No, those are thermal imagers, and as we
Interior
talked about
command, we
earlier,
have
they
a
don't
water
do
over
real
fire.
good as
No
reading
visible
temperature.
flames on this Charlie side of the fire. Clear interior. Engine 18, lay to your ladder.
Engine 18 is clear.
Engine 11 to command. Interior fire attack. We still have the fire out.
Okay. You can see the timeline there a little bit. Within less than 8 minutes, they took what could have been a catastrophic loss for that community, the church there, and they put it out. One of the things that I look at on this, if you go back to some of these pictures, if you look at the interior there wasn't a whole lot of fuel, but what's Dan taught us about the fuels, that foam rubber that's in those chairs, it's a petroleum product, and it puts out a whole lot of heat, and it puts out a whole lot of smoke, which smoke is fuel, and it's gonna go where it wants, high pressure to low pressure, and it started to go through. But if we look at these pictures, you heard that officer on engine 11, they reset the fire, and you saw the little cell phone bleep there. It blacked it out. They basically blacked this fire out, and it was very intense fire, as you can see by the pictures there. And bar joist truss, cement floor. So this is really an excellent room and content fire. It's not going to break through the structure, or is it? It was about to break through the structure, and the officer was able to visualize that because he had a thermal imager with him. He's looking up there, and he can see these bar joist trusses are starting to sag, and some of those things had sagged over 6 inches. Now, I say this was a very good incident. We didn't stop. You know, we called for a tactic that we may or may not have had confidence in at the time, that reset. But the chief kept on going and kept applying, you know, asked for more companies, large building, large amount of fire when they arrived. But the other thing is, whenever we do these tactics and we're making an offensive move from the exterior, you have to keep in your head that still what you've done on your 360, what you've sized up. Those structural members, just because we can black the fire out and take away the thermal threat and start doing some good on that, it doesn't always mean that we need to rush straight in there. The structural members on this place were so bad that we didn't investigate the interior of this fire room. And we could tell they were sagged. We don't know when they're going to quit, but we know that they lost their structural integrity. It's a nice thing that the officer caught that and pulled the crew back out, even though they had blacked it out and were trained to go in and finish the kill. But it could have ended up tragic if we'd have kept going forward. Even though we did get rid of the thermal threat, we still had structural integrity issues. This church is still there today. I went back to take some pictures whenever we started doing some of these case studies like this, and they're remodeling it. And it's not our fault because we saved it. There wasn't much smoke damage into the sanctuary and everything. Matter of fact, that was Palm Sunday, as you saw on there. And I know that's a big day for Christians. And we told them, if you want to wipe down your pews, you can come back, you can hold church today. So that was another benefit to that. But like I said, the fuel that was in there, those chairs were less substantial than these up here on the stage. But foam rubber still has a lot of energy to put out. And obviously a couch, 45, kilowatts energy, that's plenty to flash that over. You could see that there was a cased opening going into another room that was exactly like this, another Sunday school room. It started to pyrolyze at the top of those chairs, and it would have just progressed until it burnt the sanctuary down, which was on the other side of that next room. So these are some successes. I'm telling you, if you apply these tactics, learn how you can do them in your department, you won't have to sell it. They'll sell themselves. When I made this fire that morning, the first thing I did when I saw that officer was he told me, "Thank you for letting us do this." And I'm like, I'm not the guy to thank. It works, and you're the ones that applied it, and you're the ones that got the save. There's several people that were in the room on this fire. If you catch up with them, Chief Igo, our hazmat officer, was the Clint Greenwood was the RIT team, and I might be missing a few others, but they'll let you know there's a big potential to lose this church. Let's see if we can, are we going to do some other scenarios? Okay. Hopefully, I've got one or two more here that if I can get them to pull up and play. Should we try this one again? This one's about 5 minutes. I don't want to rename it. Might be pushing my luck. Now here it is.
Engine 3 to dispatch. Go ahead and start me a fire alarm.
This is what I was explaining earlier. Single company, as you can see, large structure, large dollar value, Lots of property content in there for the folks that live there. It's saying they entered coming this way, so they didn't even have a hydrant with them. Went down, caught this plug with the engine.
Engine 3 to dispatch, give me a attack channel.
Officers got out.
Clear,
was
this is
doing
going
a
to be on TAC
360.
3, TAC 3.
You look at those, you don't really know until you start getting real close that they're all
Engine
three
3
of
is
those
on the
duplexes are
scene
attached.
of a 2-story duplex. I've got smoke just inside the front door. I'm going to set up Mason's command. Engine 3 is going to be in fast attack mode.
Single 4-man response, or 4 firefighters on this
Dispatch
apparatus.
clear.
That's where the front door is. That's where the fire was. The impressive thing is that we hadn't been doing these tactics for probably just a couple of months. We had been pushing them out there slowly, stressing
Mason's
back to the
command to
basics.
dispatch all companies. I believe this is going to be a room and contents fire on the Bravo Charlie corner. Engine 3 will be resetting the fire from the Bravo Charlie corner. This fire has vented out the back.
He's done his 360. He's huffing and puffing a little bit. But like I said, we hadn't been doing these tactics for very long whenever this was done. So I was pretty proud of this crew to be able to accomplish this. You could tell that they trained on it. They worked together as a group, and they kind of had a game plan. And that's what your officers are going to have to do. They're going to have to assign somebody to be that person who's going
Mason's
to
command to
deliver the
dispatch, be
water.
clear, we are resetting the fire from the Bravo Charlie corner.
I asked the
Dispatch is clear on
dispatcher, how
reset
come
the
you
fire
didn't
from
answer him
Bravo
the
Charlie
first
corner.
time? He goes,
Fire
we're
is
getting
ready
lots
out
of
that
phone
window.
calls. So sometimes we're a little impatient with our dispatch crews. This is a 2-story structure. It's cut up pretty well for an apartment.
Mason's command, all companies, dispatch. We're resetting the fire. I got a tick reading in the back corner of 1,000 degrees right now.
And this overall
Clear on resetting the
process
fire. Temp reading 1,000 degrees.
This overall process is about 5 minutes. What are you going to get when you point a thermal imager at flames, Dan? 1,000 degrees, 1,800 degrees, whatever. It's just a temp. It's not actually a temperature. It's just a mark. So earlier when we were talking about one person read 300, the other one read 394. I don't see that well. I don't think I could see the 394 on there. But it's whatever they're pointing that at, whatever the difference is that you're reading on there. It doesn't have to be a temperature. It's either hotter or colder. If it's not getting colder, we need to do something else, or we need to get out of harm's way. Yeah, this was actually taken a couple of months after that, and so I was kind of surprised they hadn't remodeled this yet, or hadn't fixed this up yet, but as you can see, there was some insulation out there. And
Mason's command to dispatch. We've got the fire reset. Engine 3 is going to transition into fast attack mode through the front door.
Dispatch is clear.
so that was this is their front door, even though it's not totally on side A, it's really on side B. But this is where his other firefighter came up.
Command, inside the front door, got an interior tick reading of 300 degrees. We're moving in for fire attack.
Okay, so they've done their exterior attack, now they're moving in for the kill, and he's got 300 degrees as he moves in there. And I happened to talk to this officer later and I said, man, you talk real good with a mask on. It almost sounded like you were just right there. He goes, well, I never made entry. He goes, my firefighters made entry. So he stood at the door there, and the structure was big enough that he could
Engine
relay
3
that
command,
out.
we got water on the fire.
And you heard him say, we've got water on the fire, and that was something that I left off before. How do you coordinate a fire attack? Because that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about taking any of the tools out of your toolbox. As we've everybody's set up here today. Still do ventilation, still do all these other things, but do them in a coordinated manner.
Dispatch, I got an interior temp reading in the fire room at 200 degrees. We're getting water on fire.
So right there again,
Dispatch clear.
they came in the front door
200 degrees, water
and
on
their
the fire.
temperature reading was 300 degrees. When they get to the room that was actually on fire, it's cooler. It's amazing. I can't believe this stuff works. And it's the simple fire triangle. We're leaving things choked down or whatever so they won't grow, and then we're applying water to what's actually burning. We can put water into a hot atmosphere right inside the front door, and we should do that. I believe LA calls that penciling, some other places do. But you want to cool down the atmosphere if it's hot, because you don't want those gases to light off. But the key to this is you can't put the fire out until you put water on what is actually burning. Now, I use the analogy because I'm fond of making bonfires on the beach down south. You can have a fire out on the beach, and you can put water over the top of those flames all day long, and it ain't going to go out. It may cool down the thermal column off the top of that fire, but it's not going to put the fire out until you start putting fire on that wood and whatever's burning there, and then it's going to put it out. So getting back to him announcing they have water on the fire, that's what our department does to key into, turn loose, do all the ventilation tactics you want to do. And that's how we coordinate that. We make an interior attack. If need be, we control the door with our backup crew. When they say they've got water on the fire, the door's open, the roof's open, the window's open. We start exhausting fire gases. But you have to get a handle on what's burning. You've got to take it from ventilation limited to fuel limited. And how do we get it to fuel limited? We cool down the fuel, put water on it. So that last 5-minute incident there tells me if you train with your folks, it doesn't take 3 engines, 2 ladders, and whatever number of chiefs you think it takes to put the fire out, which a lot of people would say 0. That's when you need to realize that you can be effective with these tactics with minimal manpower. And that's why it works so well. And it was back to old school. Before we had the protective gear that would allow us to get in there, we're cooling down the atmosphere. The great thing is we're making it better for the people inside the structure, and we're making it way safer for us as we make entry. I've got one other deal, but we can go to some of this other. I think we're going to allow some people to ask questions. Anybody got any questions on the either one of those fires? No questions. Chief Igo, how come you called for a 3rd alarm on that? So it wasn't a punk fire that we just put out with, a couple of squirts of water? It had generated a lot of smoke. So if nobody's going to ask any questions about these, I think we'll move into some other scenarios. I don't have an actual built-up radio traffic scenario like that, but I do have one other video that shows a fire that we reset, and it's actually the major that did this is sitting in the room also. Tell they've got there. This was also a little bit before we had emphasized that we want you to at least have one person applying water as quickly as possible, so they're getting their SCBAs up. In a more refined world now, we'd blast that hose line, get it charged, and have one of those guys putting water on this immediately. In Majors Academy a couple of weeks ago, I asked them, "You think this is going to go out?" And pretty much the ones that were bold enough to make a comment said, you're not going to reset that one. Well, when they get this hose line in there and get it against the top of the structural members or ceiling that's left in there, it blacked it out. And that was a pretty decent fire, wasn't it, Major Cobb? Obviously, a big open area, even though it was an older house. It had a living room, a dining room, and I think open to the kitchen. And once you know, there's obviously not just a perfect way to do everything. Just like the Chief was talking about earlier, you gotta use your judgment. They wiped some of that off the front porch. Now, if you would have taken that and stuck it right in the window and hit it at the top, moved it around slowly, would it have worked? Yeah, it might have. You'd have still had to come back and wipe that stuff off the front porch, or it was gonna, progress somewhere else. So the big deal is get water on the fire as quickly as possible. And I like a little old school stuff. I like the smooth bore nozzles because it takes up less of your ventilation opening. For sure, your straight stream's going to take up less of your ventilation opening and not push air through there, because there's one of those math equations that Dan puts out there. The more oxygen you put into the fire, the bigger the fire's going to get, the hotter it's going to get. And the hotter it gets, the bigger it's going to get. So, these are things that we were taught in recruit school. And another thing, a couple of weeks ago, we were doing a tactics class, and one of the guys that had been on the job for a while that was in there as a major said, well, weren't we taught to do that in recruit class? I said, busted, you got me. Yeah, this stuff isn't new. It's back to the basics. We've just gotten away from those things, and the way we apply this stuff has been a little bit warped in our minds sometimes, and there's a better way to do things, and we hope people are buying into it.